Welcome back, friends and family, to another episode of 7,000 Volts Living an Electrified Life. As promised, this episode is about questions and answers. We're going to jump right into it. Tree business may require so many different moving pieces. What has been your philosophy and experience in finding the right employees to make the best team? Evan, that's a great question. I'm glad that you asked. Man, there are a lot of moving parts. So let's start. When I first started out in the tree business, I started with a $40 pole saw from Home Depot, which if you read my book, you'll hear that story. So some of this questions that I'm being asked today, it seems like some of this stuff is in my book. So I'll just scratch the surface on it a little bit, and you can pick up a copy of my book to read the rest of it. So are there a lot of moving parts? Absolutely. In the beginning, I didn't have much work coming in, so I had to do multiple different things. I would pressure wash. I would run a pressure washer to pressure wash people's lawns. I learned how to do sprinklers. Um, I, in the tree business, it's like when you first start out with no money, with no experience, you almost become a handyman. And so there's a lot of different things that you do to supplement your income to make sure you have an income at all. And so as I navigated my way through those those scrungy days, those beginning days, those lean days, those are the days that you talk about a battle going on in your mind. Those was battles, man. You ain't gonna be listen. You ain't work all week, boy. You ain't even gonna be able to buy no peanut butter or no loaf of bread. So those were the days that was very. You had to be creative, and so as we know, we move past that chapter in chapters of that life, and as you move forward, um, I talk about this in my book as well. My philosophy on building a team, you know, before today and to before I got where I am now, I just used to hire anybody that needed a job. It didn't matter the job experience. And boy, when I tell you I went on a roller coaster ride I went because I explained this in my book, so I won't get too detailed with it. Because when you don't have an interview process and you bring people into the fold, you're asking for trouble. If you don't have an employee handbook to tell people what your expectations are of them, what do you actually expect? So moving forward, yes, I put strategies into place to not only bring the right people that fits our mold, that's going to be an addition to the team, and then we have training programs to help our team. And so, if I hear another business owner call me on my phone and say, "Man, it's hard to find good employees," I'm going to tell them exactly what I'm telling you today. Hey, if you can't find good people on your team, that's a reflection of you. It gets no simpler than that. And what do I mean? What's the difference in a winning franchise and a losing franchise? A team that constantly wins and a team that doesn't win. The team that wins a lot, they have a good front office, they have a good training program, they train their players a certain way of what they want. They bring in the right fit for that team, and they work with a person's skill set where they're at and make it gel with the entire team, which makes them a successful team. You see how we did that? We didn't even have to name no names. You know who your team is. You know who the teams that always seem like they're winning, and then people start hating. They get mad and jealous. It's like, oh man, that team sucks. They're always cheating. They're always doing this. Yeah, when you win, people they don't like you either. So you have to navigate that way. Uh, for me, that's what we did. We started actually training people to be successful because that's investment out of your pocket. I always tell, especially new hires, hey, the thing that I do, you're getting paid to learn. Listen, especially for the first few months or so, you're paying them to learn, nothing else, and that's what they do. And if you see that a person that you brought in that fit the mold, and they're not learning as you pay them, then you have an executive decision to make. All right, we'll move on to the next question. For someone looking to start a tree or assembly venture, what advice would you give those starting from the bottom with no team? That's a very interesting one, Eddie. the advice that I would give them when you're starting with no team, that means hopefully you chose a business for the right reason. That's the first piece of advice. Meaning, why did you choose this field? Did you choose this field because you heard you can make a lot of money in it, or you really have a love for this venture or the tree business? If you're choosing the field that I'm in, are you choosing it for the money, or you choosing it because you work for another company and you're really good at what you do? So my first piece of advice is like, why did you choose this field? And you have no team around you. So before you start to build a team, um, well, there's a lot of scenarios to that question. Do you have a job that you're working now? Or you starting at the bottom, and are you just going in just head first, or you're trying to have a strategy when you go in? It's almost like a loaded question, because it's like, what are your circumstances? Are you married? Do you have kids? See, for me, I was single. I didn't have anything to lose. I was already at rock bottom, in my opinion, and I had no way to go but up. Um, and so it depends on the circumstance of that person. Now, if you have working capital you're starting off with, you got good credit and you're starting off with working capital and you're starting a business, so you have the financial needs. My first piece of advice with that will be, you really have to make sure that you're an absolute pro in what you do, taking the necessary classes to make sure that you're going to be competitive and be able to compete in this industry, understanding the right equipment that you need for this industry. And no, I'm not saying go out and buy all the equipment that you need for this industry, because you really don't know all the equipment that you need, because you can be going in a different area, you can be going in a different landscape, a colder state versus a warmer state like Florida. So there's different avenues in this industry that you can take, but you have to find the right vehicle that's going to work for you. Um, and so, that's a very loaded question. And how do you build a team? You don't in the beginning. Maybe you start with a right hand man, but building the team before you have the concept of the business and how you're going to operate. Who's your clientele? Are you going to start off going for commercial properties? Are you going to stay in the private sector? And if you do stay in the private sector, how are you going to transition to get bigger checks or bigger work? So coming off in this business is going to depend on the level of experience that you have. If it's you're a blue collar worker or you're an electrician, most electricians it's different. I mentioned this in my book. The tree business is one of those business that I want to see laws change, because we don't have those laws like they have as a electrician or a plumber. It's quite sad. Being a certified arborist it's voluntary, but it's the highest level that you can get in my industry. That means that you're basically taking what you do very serious. So you want to be one of the best by becoming a certified arborist. We have insurance, we have workers' comp, but the state of Florida don't offer a license for this industry. And what's sad, don't look at my nails today, they need to get done. You need a license to do hands and feet. You need a state license to do hands and feet. Let that marinate. You need a license to do hands and feet, but you don't need a license to crank up a chainsaw, one of the most deadly tools on the face of this earth, and cut limbs from over somebody's house. I just finished doing a crane job. The last pick on the tree that we took weighed over 7,000 pounds. And it's some risky stuff that we do. Edward, I hope that answered your question. What advice would I give a person in a startup? It depends on which way they're trying to go. Building a team before you don't want to put the cart before the horse. You have to understand which area you're going in. What level of expertise do you have in this field? I had none. I had no experience when I started, besides working with my grandfather when I was a little ant, and he died when I was 10. And so I've learned and grew into a professional. Next question from Cheryl. After your near-death experience, are there any precautions you would like to share to avoid that type of accident? Absolutely. man, some of these questions are directly from my book. So if you haven't gotten my book already, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to give you a different little version, but to answer your question, Cheryl, absolutely. Life changed for me after my accident, and from that day to this one, I vowed to become a true professional at what I do, because you don't get that many chances. I'm here for a reason. There's a purpose for me being here. With all the stuff that I've been through, I'm able to share my wisdom, my experiences with you, with the world. And long after I'm gone, years down the road, these podcasts, the books that my book that's already out, and the future books to come, I'm here for a purpose. So the things I'm doing different is being a true professional, taking things a lot more serious than I took them before the accident. Next question, Raphael. There are probably many tree service businesses around each city. What have you done in the past that has helped you stand out? Man, that is a great question, Raphael. And I actually pride myself on what I've done. I don't try to duplicate what other people do, but what I've seen is the travel in the area. If I see, like before I bought my first lift, it was simple for me. I used to rent a lot of different lifts from different rental companies in the area, and I would go to different trade shows and I would demo lifts that they had. But because of my accident that I had, I was looking for a particular kind of lift. And what's funny to me, most people don't have them outside of the power company. Most people don't have an insulated lift. What is an insulated lift? I'm glad you asked. Insulated lift allows you, not that I want to, but it allows you to work near power lines, and you're insulated, just like the linemen from the power companies and the tree companies, I'm not going to promote them, that does power clearing. The things that I do different, sometimes I look at how other people operate, and if they just, I do the opposite. I say, you know what? That don't look safe the way they operate, and I don't like the way they operate, so we're going to do the exact opposite. And so I research, not my competition, but other people in the field. And why I do it, I want to say, okay, because this might be something I can pick up, and I was like, okay, let me add this to the toolkit to help us navigate and be better. And so I'm always trying to learn. I'm always watching. I'm always surfing, and I make it my business to see what people in my field are doing to make sure not only do I have the latest technologies, but I'm operating it as efficient as possible. And so, and I'll be a fool not to. Like, if I sold barbecue, I'll be a fool not to try every barbecue restaurant in this area and the surrounding areas to see what I can do better, or am I even in the same playing field? And by doing that, it allows me to step my game up to another level. And that's what it has allowed me to do, looking at other people in the area and beyond, different states. I'll go online and watch people on Instagram or YouTube. I'll say, okay, that's interesting. There's so many different technology tools that's out there. It's kind of scary with the technology that's coming, especially for the tree business in the future. So I do projections just like the city and government, and you project how your industry is going to do in the next 10 to 20 years from now. And it is very interesting. Next question from Joe. Explain how mechanics, welders, electricians, plumbers, and arborists like yourself use or avoid digital content to grow their business. Well, that's a very interesting question. So I'm going to try my best to answer it. To my understanding, we're blue collar workers, and we're owner operated. And when you're owner operated and you're from the old school, I call it the old school, even though I'm still a young buck, we call it old school. And we believe in what you call it, authentic, help me out over there, right? Organic. We believe in you do a good job for this person, he's going to tell that person. You do it for us, he's going to tell that person. And so we believe in organic matter. And what that is we haven't caught up to technology as far as digital marketing. And I will say this, it's scary because if you're a new person in any one of those trades and you don't understand how it works, you're going to get taken for a bill of goods, because you have a lot of scam artists out there and they'll promise you the world. And they say, sign up with this team, we're going to charge you XYZ to promote your business. And I will say this, you can spend $1 million to $2 million a year marketing and promoting your business. But if you're not worth a hill of beans because you're not good at what you do, what's the point? You might as well save that money in your pocket, because people are going to use you once. They're probably not going to use you twice. So the trick is, you really need to be good at what you do in order to grow your business. And people talk, especially with this new social media stuff. You know, we have a 5-star, you know, we ain't bragging, but we are a 5-star company, because I don't have to pay for that advertisement, because people gonna get online and talk. It's not like it was back in the day. They had no way to know if you was a scam artist or you didn't do good work. They just looked in the yellow pages. If you paid for the ad, you got the business. This is a whole different ball game now. All right. Next question. Victor, talk about creative ways tree businesses pivot, adapt, and survive during the off season. Man, that's a good question. Tree services, creative ways. I mean, I think I just answered it. If you're good at what you do, with the exception of living in a true seasonal state. Florida, we're not a true seasonal state. Yeah, we get 20 degrees hotter in the summertime and warmer, but we don't get pounds and gallons and trenches of snow, so we get to work in the tree service year round. People in the northern state, they would have to navigate their way through to be able to plow snow or do something to supplement their income. But when you're good at what you do, you're not going to have a problem doing that. Like, work for me is not seasonal. We work year round. There's nonstop, 365. We work year round. We constantly work out. We constantly book out in advance. We book 3 to 4 months in advance. So it's not seasonal for us. And I can imagine up north, if you're good at doing trees and you have a plethora of customers that's going to use you to do other things in whatever that it is that you do. So we're not one of those companies that have to lay you off during the winter months when it's slow, because it doesn't get slow. You know, I have conversations with people and it's like, oh, I was only able to work my guys a couple of days this week. That's alarming to me. I'm like, what? I used to, and I understand I'm blessed by the best, but it's also a testament that we do good work, and so we don't have a problem staying busy and getting work. Next question, Anne. Reflect on a project that gave you confidence and clarity about your business. I talk about this in my book. I can tell you my first tree job that gave me the confidence and the clarity about my business. I was riding my bikes throughout the city of Oldsmar. I would ride, knock on people's door, and this one particular day I got my first tree job. I remember it was on Oakwood Street here in Oldsmar. I spotted the lady driving in her driveway. I waited till she got out before I rode past. I didn't want to alarm her. I am a 6'5" black guy, so I didn't want to be like thinking she was, no crazy thoughts or anything. And I approached her and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, we're going to be in the area tomorrow trimming trees. Can I trim your palm tree?" And she agreed. We agreed upon the price. I think it was around $75, $80. I got the job. And I said, man, I don't have a saw. So, and you heard me say this on this podcast before. I got the job before I got the saw. Went to Home Depot, spent the last $40 that I had to my name, and the rest is history. 20 years later, I'm still doing it. All right, last question. Tanya, has there ever been a situation where you had to turn down a job? All right, best way to answer that, Tanya, is we have to constantly turn jobs down. Not that we want to, because we just can't meet their deadlines. We're very, very busy, and we're very efficient in what we do. So we're in a position now that we don't have to take every job that comes our way. There's a lot of stuff that we used to do in the beginning and we don't do anymore, like sprinklers, landscaping, and all contracts and all business is not good business. So you have to use that wisdom that God gives you and listen to the right voices when those jobs come, because some of them are not worth it. That's our time for today. I appreciate you. Stay electrified. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time. Have a great day. God bless.